This is Valley View News.
The midterm election is days away. Valley View News looks at some of the key races and propositions.
Don't let them tell you that change isn't possible.
President Obama visits USC to rally support for Democrats. And gay Latinos in Los Angeles held a festival to show their pride.
Hello and welcome to Valley View's pre-election edition. I'm Greg Donnell.
And I'm Jessica Green.
The November elections are just days away. During this newscast, we'll be highlighting a few of the measures on the ballot, as well as the races for California's governor and senator. First up, Valley View's Jessica Green reports on the gubernatorial race.
Candidates Meg Whitman and Jerry Brown are hitting the streets in the weeks leading to the California race for governor. Both campaigns are promising a better California. Both campaigns are promising to stop spending that has spiraled California to a $20 billion deficit. So what are the differences between the two candidates? Meg Whitman's #1 goal as governor will be to create 2 million jobs by 2015. And Jerry Brown's campaign focuses on creating jobs and education. I spoke with CSUN students to get their opinions on the best candidates.
I'm supporting Jerry Brown because he stands for the values that I think are right. If you're going to have a person in government, you need a person who believes in government.
I am supporting the Republican Party, Meg Whitman, because I feel that she has a business outlook on things, and I think that would help the state, having her being a former CEO of eBay.
Analysts say that Jerry Brown's ability to connect issues that people care about is why he is more successful at this time.
He's also leading now among Latino voters and among women, and he's increased his lead among Democrats and also among independent voters.
Recent polls show that Jerry Brown's popularity is rising among likely voters, and with elections fast approaching, candidates need to target independent voters to ensure a win this November. November 2nd is Election Day. In Northridge, Jessica Green, Valley View News.
Perhaps the most controversial measure on the November ballot will be the selling of pot. Minerva Trujillo has more on this story.
Supporters of Prop 19 say California needs the initiative to help the state out of its deficit. Opponents say Proposition 19 will lead to people smoking pot on the job and behind the wheel. The measure has been so controversial that the Obama administration has threatened to sue California if Prop 19 passes. Proposition 19 would allow retail sales of marijuana. Prop 19 will go beyond current state law, which only allows pot use for medical reasons with a state-issued card. Guillermo Ortiz got his medical card from a doctor's recommendation and says he supports Prop 19.
I feel safer going into a dispensary and buying my stuff there with a card that was issued to me by the state than I would doing some illegal transaction on the street with some stranger that I don't know. And the quality is much better when you go to a dispensary.
If voters approve Prop 19, people will no longer need a medical card to use marijuana legally. As long as you are 21 years old, you can use and grow pot for personal use. Detective Robert Holcomb says Prop 19 is a bad idea.
I don't see really any upside to it. Marijuana is readily available to individuals who need it for medicinal purposes, but has been kind of hijacked by these individuals who are profiteers and are making millions.
Last year, the LAPD served 39 search warrants at dispensaries and made 60 arrests, most for unlawful sales. Michael Backus owns a pot collective clinic. He says Prop 19 is not perfect, but he supports it.
I don't think really that Prop 19 is the bill that I would have written, but it's one I can support because I don't think anyone really should be incarcerated for cannabis possession or use. And I think it's time we move on.
If Proposition 19 passes, pot possession would still be illegal under federal law. Recent polls show Prop 19 in trouble, but the campaign says they are not giving up. They are doing TV ads and making automated phone calls. This phone rang a little earlier. It was the people from Prop 19 seeking support. Back to you.
Proposition 21 would bring millions to depleted state parks, but opponents call it the right intention gone about in the wrong way. Valley View reporter Ryan Fonseca examines the proposition and what it would mean for California.
Come Election Tuesday, California voters will decide whether to adopt a proposition that proponents call a reliable, sustainable, and adequate source of funds for California state parks. Proposition 21 would add an annual $18 surcharge to most California vehicle license fees. With roughly 28 million drivers in California, that amounts to about $250 million a year. The money generated will create the State Parks and Wildlife Conservation Trust Fund, and all that money will go directly to the parks and state conservatory agencies. The trade-off for the public? Free day-use access to all California state parks. But some feel the proposition is a squeeze on Californians by greedy legislators, while others are suspicious about the funds being used as intended.
Basically, they're going to rook the residents, to rook the people of this state, the people that pay taxes year in and year out, and just gouge more money out of them. I think it's nuts, personally.
Well, as long as the money is going where they say it's going, and they're not lying to us like they usually do.
Sarah Feldman of the State Parks Foundation says it is precisely the neglect from Sacramento that makes Prop 21 essential to the survival of the parks.
The legislature won't do it. They're not doing their jobs, and so this is really actually what the initiative process is designed for. The law clearly protects this money from being borrowed from or appropriated. It really is what it says it is. It's really not a scam.
The proposition comes to the ballot after decades of low funding, and the parks have been in jeopardy of closure in the past few years. The Golden State has more than 275 parks, including beaches, deserts, and forests.
Here at Topanga State Park, hikers can enjoy 36 miles of trails. Visitors that come here frequently have told me that they enjoy coming here because of the fresh mountain air, the seclusion from the city, and they don't want to see that go away.
Californians will have to decide if Prop 21 is an unnecessary fee or the best bet to keep California's land safe for the future. In Topanga State Park, I'm Ryan Fonseca for Valley View News.
Supporters of Proposition 23 refer to it as the California Jobs Initiative, while opponents call it the Dirty Energy Prop. Matt Vanderveer is in the studio to tell us more about Prop 23.
Yeah, Jessica, now this prop can be a little confusing, but let's work our way through it. California passed AB 32 in 2006. The measure would require California to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions to 1990 levels by the year 2020. Supporters of Proposition 23 argue that going forward with AB 32 in the midst of the current recession would further damage the state's economy and eliminate jobs. They want it suspended until California's unemployment rate drops below 5.5% and stays there for a full year. Greenhouse gas emissions, pollution, and global warming. They're all hot topics, and all will be affected by Proposition 23. UCLA held a debate on the matter. CEO of Seventh Generation Advisors Terry Tamminen opposes Prop 23. His company provides help to other states and governments in adopting clean energy policies.
Who hasn't bought an Energy Star appliance that's thanks to California regulations and saved money? Who hasn't changed their light bulbs and found that the new light bulbs pay themselves back in as little as 7 months?
Senior VP of Government Relations for the California Manufacturers and Technology Association, Dorothy Rothrock, is afraid energy costs will go up even more.
Are we paying enough? What kind of premium do you want us to? 53% premium in electricity bills for manufacturers isn't enough?
Proposition 23 was spearheaded by two out-of-state refineries, Valero Services and Tesoro Companies. Valero, which declined to comment, ranks 7th among industrial emitters of carbon dioxide in California. But Director of Health and Safety at Valero, Chris Howes, told KQED-TV in San Francisco that Valero refineries operate under some of the most strict emission limits that exist anywhere in the world. He also noted that Valero doesn't consider carbon dioxide emissions as pollution. The No on 23 campaign has raised considerably more money than the other side, but millions of dollars has been funneled into both sides. The biggest contributor to the yes side comes from Valero Services, who helps to distribute diesel to gas stations around the United States. That donation, more than $4 million. Waste Management is a Fortune 200 company that opposes Prop 23. They provide recycling and waste services to a number of Californians. Director of External Affairs, Kit Cole, says Waste Management was one of the first companies to support the green measure passed in 2006.
We have a very dry Mediterranean climate. This is a climate with a lot of people in a really small space, each of us producing about 5 pounds of trash per day.
She says that works out to 60,000 tons of Southern California trash every day. California candidate for Senator Carly Fiorina has endorsed Proposition 23, while both candidates for Governor Jerry Brown and Meg Whitman oppose the measure. Now, under AB 32, emissions would be slashed about 15% from today's levels by the year 2020. Suspending the measure would delay efforts to increase solar energy and other alternatives to fossil fuel. Back to you.